and how well he plays in them games, and they're the kind of players you need in the squad, that they're going to turn up on them big occasions and showcase the top ability that they've got.
Oh, he gets those games as well, doesn't he? He knows what those games mean to us. He gets them. Now, looking at the defence, there is one change in the defence today. So John Stones has come in for his first start of the season. Ruben Dias drops to the bench. Nathan Ake holds that place. He started in all the pre-season games and the first 2 games of the season as well. Do you think, Steve, that this is a case of John Stones stepping in, fitness, it's his turn, it's a rotation policy? Because Ruben Dias hasn't done anything wrong.
No, he hasn't. I think Ruben Dias himself, he'd have been thinking, well, what have I done wrong? Well, I'm sure Pep's probably had a word with him. But as you said, Ake, he's done really well. I think he impressed on the pre-season tour. As Trevor said as well, obviously Stones didn't go to the pre-season tour. That'd have been a blow for Stones more than really the manager, because looking at it, Stones would need to get his fitness up, needs to be with the players and stuff like that. So obviously he's done really well to get to this level. It'll be interesting. I think if you were Newcastle's manager, you would possibly sort of say, well, let's play on Stones to see really is he properly match fit, is he match sharp? But we all know he's a quality player, so it'll be interesting to see how he copes. But as I said, you can't deny his ability. He's a very, very good player. But as I said, Ake, he's done fantastic. Diaz will be a little bit disappointed, as players are when you're not in the starting lineup, but it's still a very, very impressive team.
I'm a big fan of our team, clearly, but a big fan of our centre-backs. The fact that obviously Aymeric Laporte is still injured till September. Big congratulations to him as well. I saw on his Instagram that he had a baby yesterday as well, so big congratulations to him. So he's out, so we've got the 3, and obviously in the 2 seasons that Nathan Ake's been here, he's not necessarily been a first-choice player, but he hugely impressed over the pre-season, impressed in the first 2 games of the season. So we're at the point now where we have 4 centre-backs when they're all fit, or currently 3 that are fit, and you are happy with any of them playing?
Yeah, Nathan's been superb. I think life experiences, he had a bit of a difficult time last year for one thing and another, not on the pitch, but off the pitch. And I think, again, the team's like a family, the squad is like a family. And I think that's just brought him closer to his teammates. He feels more comfortable. He feels valued by his teammates and obviously by the fans now, because he's played a key part in several games. And I think confidence is a huge thing, isn't it, Steve? So when you're confident and you feel valued at a football club, you're going to play your best football, and I think that's where Nathan Ake is at the moment. And he's been playing well, and a little bit like Diaz, they've not conceded a goal this season in the Premier League, so nobody deserves to get dropped. But it's one of them where you've got, the FA Cup's going to be starting up, the League Cup, the Champions League. We have to rotate. We've not got that many senior pros in the side, and everyone looks at Manchester City and says, "Oh yeah, they've got all these players and all this money and all this, that, and the other." But actually, I think we've got 19 senior pros at the football club. So it's really important that you can't just play the same team week in, week out, and then all of a sudden you get a couple of injuries and you're throwing players in who've not played for 3 or 4 weeks. So again, Pep, he's thinking ahead of the curve. He's rotating players in different positions throughout the team, making sure that everyone stays match fit, and everyone's going to play a lot of games because there's not that many players to choose from.
Now, looking a little bit further up the pitch, I want to have a quick word about Ilkay Gundawan. So he is the captain this season. He was voted for by his fellow players. He was vice-captain last year before obviously Fernandinho left. Had a cracking start to the season. Obviously, we all remember what he did at the end of last season. What do you make of Ilkay Gundawan?
Well, I think for him personally, when your players want you as captain, I mean, that must be a huge boost for him. I think if you're blessed to be a captain of any team at any given point, just even if it's a stand-in, it's a huge, huge honour. And I was captain here a few times when I was a player here. And to be captain of a club like Manchester City is a huge honour. But as I said, when you get your own teammates that are basically sort of saying to the manager, we want him, then he's got to be sticking his chest out thinking, wow, thank you very much. But ultimately, definitely deserves it. Fantastic player. As I said, he must be one of these in the dressing room as well. That's a brilliant leader. Possibly goes around to players individually and has a couple of words with them. And that's why they've wanted him as captain.
And I saw again on the Together documentary that he's doing his coaching badges at the minute, and they've got these brilliant scenes of him coaching the under-16s as well. So he's obviously hugely football intelligent, Trevor. Yeah,
his IQ. I mean, at times I think when he first came to the club, I think he was too complicated. He had so much creativity around him, and it was quite difficult for Pep to coach him because You know, he tries the impossible pass. He plays passes that other players don't see, and it's almost like you've had to dumb him down a little bit so he suits the way that Manchester City play under Pep. But now he's got used to that and he understands his role. I mean, we've seen the last goal that he scored of last season, amazing scenes, the first goal of the start of this season, and again, like Steve said, you know, if your teammates are voting you to be their leader, that must be an unbelievable privilege, and it must be that sense of like the standards that you set yourself, and they appreciate the standards that you set and want you to be their leader. It must be an amazing feeling. But again, he's got to keep them standards now. You know, there's no point in saying, oh yeah, I'm captain of the club, I'm going to change. Stay the same. Do exactly everything that you've done before. Do it the same. And he seems very intelligent. You know, he's doing his coaching badges. I feel when I started doing my coaching badges, I'm not sure Steve thinks the same, but it does make you understand the game a lot more. And to do it while you're playing, it's only going to benefit him and the team.
And I love the fact as well that he's part of, you know, he's the captain, but the team is just littered with leaders, or, you know, all over the pitch. There's 5, 6, 7 people who could easily have been the captain, which I love. Before we look at the Newcastle team, Steve, I just want to ask you, or both of you, for a quick tactical analysis, which probably is one of the most difficult questions to answer. In terms of looking at this team, obviously we've got Bernardo Silva and Phil Foden. Where do you think they're going to play? And then also, can you give us an overview? So this is, I'll get you thinking here, Steve. This is like you're doing your coaching badges. City's tactics this season, because we've seen Cancelo and Walker playing almost next to Rodri, so they seem to be further up and more in than they've ever been.
Well, I think with Foden and Silva, I think we had a little quick discussion before we came on air, which is the fact that they can swap, but ultimately you would have thought Foden would probably start. Well, for me, probably Trevor would disagree, but I think Foden would probably play on the left and Silva on the right hand side, but they will swap. As far as it goes between the two kind of full-backs, we've seen Pep a lot of times pushing Walker and whoever, whether it was Zinchenko or whoever was on the left-hand side, in. But he does like the players as well to go right to the touchline when they've got the ball, to stretch the game. I think that the tactics for Pep today will basically be trying to get as much ball as they possibly can. We know Newcastle, they've obviously a team which has kind of turned it around a little bit under Eddie Howe. But he'll just be sort of saying to his players, and in particular the players that we've just mentioned, just play your normal game. And I think if they play the normal game with the attributes that they've got, they'll still cause Newcastle a lot of problems.
Yeah. Trev, how have you found our formation, our tactics, any slight differences this season?
Yeah, I think Rodri's been a little bit deeper at times, and we've got that kind of triangle with the two central defenders and Rodri just sitting in front, and then the inverted fullbacks. You know, we've heard of inverted wingers before, but now we seem to be playing where whatever side the ball's on, the fullback's coming in, and it just causes problems to the opposition when you try and press man. And you'll see it, a lot of teams now just give up. They'll either have a mid-press or a deep block, because they know that when they try and press high up the pitch, unless they're going to start leaving one against one at the back, and you don't really want to do that against Erling Haaland. So you've got a real problem. Do you let them just have the ball and dominate possession, build confidence, build momentum, and then get into them final thirds with ease and create opportunities? Or do you try and risk it and go and press high? And when you press high, you know, the different movements and patterns of play, which, again, you look at Barcelona, you look at the Brazilian thing with the futsal, and there's so many different patterns of play that it's almost impossible to press, especially when you've got someone like Ederson in goal, who's probably good enough to play in midfield.
Yeah,
with his touch and his distribution.
I can't see Newcastle pressing up high. I think that'll be a case of let Ederson have the ball, or the full-backs have the ball if they do drop, or the two centre-halves have the ball, and then basically just sit back and just make sure it's a good bank of 4-4. And then obviously just get Wilson or whoever it's at maximum, or Almiron, they're just coming in, or even it's a 4-5 for Newcastle. They'll make it really difficult for Man City to try and break them down.
Well, we'll find out in a second who is playing in that Newcastle team today. So we'll give you that Newcastle starting 11 in just a second. But if you have any questions that you would like to ask our guests today, please do get in touch. Our WhatsApp number is on the screen right now. As always, you can ask them anything tactically about today's game, about their careers, anything you'd like to know, get them in, and I will get through as many as I possibly can. Now, as Steve so lovely teed me up there, it is now time to find out the starting 11 for the Newcastle team for today. So, the Newcastle starting 11. In goal, it is Pope, Trippier, Botman, Sarr, Burn, Willock, Mahrez, Joe Linton, Almiron, Wilson, St Maximin. That is your starting 11 for Newcastle for today. So a couple of names that you mentioned there, Steve. They are in the starting 11. You've got Almiron there. What is your kind of general overview of that Newcastle 11? Again,
I think it's a team which, it's probably the manager's strongest team. Botman's come in. He started last week against Brighton. He looks big, strong, solid. He is a unit. I think he's 6'4", 6'5", but he's well built as well. And obviously with him and Shaw, we know I think the first game of the season when he scored that long range goal. But there'll be a team which, as I said, Eddie Howe will try and set them up when we've got the ball, we want to try and get as many people forward as possible. But when we haven't got the ball, just drop back. I think for Newcastle's team, Bruno Guimaraes, he is a special talent. I think Man City players will look at him and think, he is good. He's been linked with the move to Real Madrid. Eddie Howe quickly come out and squashed that and just sort of said, why would we want him to go there when we're trying to build something? And of course, Newcastle will have the threat with Wilson. I mean, Newcastle fans will hope that he stays fit because ultimately, if he goes out the team, there's not really a goal threat as such because you look at Almiron, you look at St Maximin, they're not really going to get you a vast amount of goals. So I think the club themselves, before the end of the market, they'll be looking to try and get another forward in. But as I said, it'll be a team which is completely different. I know Man City have got a very good record against them. Eddie Howe has got a terrible record against Manchester City. But it is a different beast at the moment, actually, Newcastle, with the way that since Eddie's come in, the transformation of the team's been very, very good. Obviously, the wins and the atmosphere in the club with the new owners and stuff like that. So Manchester City, the team will find it a little bit difficult. If I'm being honest, though, I still think they've got too much for Newcastle, but it will be a tough game.
Yeah, I find Newcastle sort of fascinating. The turnaround, obviously, since the new owners and Eddie Howe came in. If you go back to January and look at the kind of form of this year, they're third in the form table since January. Also, them and us, only teams in the Premier League this season to not concede a goal yet. They obviously had that 0-0 draw with Brighton last week, in which, watching the highlights, it did look like Brighton were perhaps a little bit better that day. But defensively, Trevor, they do look so solid. So they brought in Nick Pope, obviously England international, and they brought in Sven Botman, who apparently was highly rated. People, AC Milan were being linked to him as well. So defensively in particular, they look really strong. Yeah, and it's something that I'm sure Eddie Howe wanted to shore up. I think him and Jason Tindall have got a really good relationship. I think the standards on the training ground, from what I'm hearing from players, from people in the game, is very high. They train as they play. Competition for places now, they've improved the squad immensely since Eddie took over. So there's a lot of positives. I mean, I've got a friend, Newcastle pal of mine, who just sent me a text and said, I'm worried about the game, I'm scared, I'm nervous. That's the expectancy that Newcastle United fans have got, and Steve's played there. I played against Newcastle in the 90s when it was it was a tough place to go to, and that's what they're trying to captivate. They're trying to capture that kind of confidence. But like you said, third in the league since the turn of the year. They've made some really astute signings. Guimaraes, I'm a big fan of his. I think he's got fantastic qualities. But I think it's going to be important on transition for them because they are going to be deep. They're going to, give up the possession, let Manchester City have the dominate possession. But on the transition, if they can break with quality, and we know Almiron, we know St Maximin's got really good quality. For me, Wilson, he is a top 6, top 8 centre forward in the Premier League. He's a proven goal scorer, so they have got a threat. And Manchester City will have to be focused when in possession because what if is always a big thing in football. If you lose possession or it's a poorly placed pass, if you're not ready to deal with situations, they're going to punish you. So, there is a bit of jeopardy there, but with Steve, I think Manchester City are going to have too much. They obviously brought Bruno Guimaraes in January, and now this transfer window, apparently Real Madrid have been after him. So I think the Newcastle fans are going to be really happy when the window shuts if Guimaraes is still their player. Of course, the Newcastle fans are a lot happier in general these days since their takeover. And of course, being a Newcastle player yourself, tell us a little bit about the atmosphere inside that stadium when it's good, when the fans are truly with the team and behind the team. It's really incredible in there.
It is. I mean, I think the turnaround anyway since Eddie came in was remarkable. I mean, I think they were the only team in Premier League history to not win any of the first 14 Premier League games and yet still survive, which is remarkable in itself. And as I said, the stat that you said there in Form Guide, the third, if they'd started the season at Christmas or something like that it was. But the atmosphere, the fans, they've got this thing in the northeast at Newcastle, it's called war flags. And they have all these huge flags around the ground. And it does look pretty special. I mean, I've been there a couple of times. I think the last one I went to Arsenal at the end of the season, and the atmosphere was just absolutely superb. You know, Trevor mentioned it before, it's one of them ones where the kind of the hairs on the back of your head stand up with just kind of the pure excitement and the noise. I think something was mentioned when I was listening to the radio coming down about the fact that, you know, will Manchester City players be all right with this kind of cauldron-esque atmosphere? But listen, these are all international players. They're used to all that kind of thing. But the atmosphere will be brilliant. As I said, it's because of Eddie Howe. The turnaround of the players has been absolutely fantastic. Players like Joelinton, for instance, who was getting a lot of criticism, and people were more or less sort of saying he can't even kick a ball, let alone be worth 40 million. The transformation for him has been outrageous.
Incredible,
as well.
Yeah.
And obviously the new owners, as I said, they've come in and they've just tried to be transparent, basically nothing like what Mike Ashley was. So everybody at the club and anybody concerned with Newcastle is absolutely really looking forward to the future.
Yeah, Joelinton's turnaround has been insane. Also, you mentioned the what do they call them? The war flags?
War flags, like WOR, like war. Like war Jackie.
I love it. Well, I heard that their war flags for today is going to be something to do with Almiron. Without going into too much detail, we had a bit of beef with our Jack, or our Jack started a bit of beef with him. Almiron, again, another player that seems to have had an incredible turnaround under Eddie Howe.
Yeah, one of the goals he scored last season I was so impressed with. And the reaction, you know, after that little bit of bits and bobs that went on, I think he's a player that's got really good quality, and I think he seems quite a shy guy. And when it was very difficult at Newcastle, he went under a little bit, which can happen. But I think that suffering and in getting through that, and then the turnaround of the football club, and him still being there and getting this second opportunity, I think he's got good quality to affect the Premier League games. Just looking at their side, and you know, there's a couple of things that stick out to me, and one of them was Joelinton and how he's, you know, Eddie Howe's thought he's a player, he's always in the winning side in training games, and he's not a goal scorer. We need to change, put him in midfield, and all of a sudden he's got loads of energy, loads of quality, breaks things up. But the other thing is they've got a really good set piece specialist in Trippier, and they've got a very tall side. So I think Pep will definitely highlight that to the players. Don't give cheap free kicks away, don't give cheap corners away in and around the box, because they have got players that can punish you. And that's something where I feel that, you know, you look at Eddie Howe and he'll be concentrating on when you get set pieces, let's get the big lads up and let's see if we can put it on him. And that's something we've got to be aware of.
Yeah. I can't wait. I love a game at St James's Park. I'm blessed that I've been many times, and good luck to all the Blues that are travelling up there and going up those million flights of stairs. I don't know if you ever ventured up to the away end, Steve.
I have. It's high. Well, actually, in the corner where the City fans would be, they're kind of behind the goal. If you're looking at the goal to the right, but I've been like to the left, right up the top. And I know people do have to have a sit down for a good 10, 15 minutes.
Did you not have to go up there when you got fined as a group and like, punishment running up to the top there? Because that would absolutely finish you.
I was a good lad, so I never got that punishment. I wouldn't have the City to be a bad lad.
I have been, and I have walked up, and you do get about halfway up and you think, really? Am I not there yet? But yeah, I mean, who can forget some of the incredible iconic moments that we have had at St James's Park? I mean, going back to 2012, Yaya Touré's incredible run in that game that we needed to win our first Premier League season, the second last game of the season. It was absolutely incredible. And of course, last season as well, Ferran Torres' hat-trick in our 4-3 victory at St James's. Sorry, in 2021, our 4-3 victory in the season there. Absolutely incredible. So there has been some really iconic moments at St James's Park. But I would argue, and I think most City fans would agree with me, that the most iconic moment at St James's Park, you have to go back to 1968. Now, some of you may have already noticed behind our guests today, we have 3 beautiful images of 3 absolute City icons that you will keep seeing. You can see them just behind them there. That is, of course, Colin the King. And then you have Francis Lee and Mike Summerby as well. So 1968, the Blues travelled to Newcastle. We were level on points with Manchester United at the top of the table. We went on to have a 4-3 victory. And in turn, we secured only our second league title, the last one being in 1937. So can you imagine that? Level on points with Manchester United, and you have to go to Newcastle. You have to win the league. Well, they did it. They did it, and we won the league. And of course, two goals from Young, a goal from Bell, a goal from Summerby. Look at the scenes there on those pitches. Absolutely phenomenal. Now, I will enjoy any opportunity to talk about these three incredible men. But this does give me a chance to say as well, of course, as you all know, they are getting a statue. So the legacy of these three incredible City players is going to be immortalised in a beautiful statue that will be going up outside the stadium. Now, there is some quirky little facts as well, gents, that tie into today's game as well. I love this. Mike Summerby signed for City this weekend 57 years ago. So go back to 1965, this weekend, Summerby signed for us. And Colin Bell announced his retirement on this weekend in 1980 as well. So 42 years since Bell retired from football, 57 years since we signed Mike Summerby as well. So I just love looking at these pictures. Trevor, I'd love to let's just talk about all three of them, because it's just a joy to have an opportunity to talk about them. First of all, Mike Summerby, obviously. Give us your thoughts on our lovely Mike Summerby.
I mean, he's a legend, isn't he? When I first got to the football club, he was one of the first people that welcomed me to the club. And talk about charisma, talk about someone who loves life and lives it to the fullest. And he just made me feel really welcome. He's an absolute brilliant guy, loves the club through and through. And, you know, him being the main ambassador for the football club over the last few years, it's been brilliant. And I think he deserves it, what he's done on the pitch. He's so humble. He never talks about his time at the football club, but, you know, you just mentioned there, winning leagues, winning cups, you know, winning in Europe. You know, the club has got a rich heritage, and these three guys are you know, paramount to that history and them winning ways. So it's an absolute, I think it's well deserved. Great tribute to these three players. You know, Colin Bell, I mentioned it earlier, the first restaurant I ever went to was the Bell Waldron, which he owned, and I was buzzing to go there. He had a similar background to me. He played for Bury when he first started out, and then ended up being an absolute legend at the football club. Even to this day, you know, some of the older fans talk about him being the best player Manchester City's ever had. You know, and you think about the players that we've had in the more recent history. And Franny Lee, you know, what more can you say about Franny Lee? Goal scorer, absolute unbelievable personality. Again, you can see that it comes through on the photos there. In black and white, but again, another unbelievable person that when you're around him, you know, he's just such a charismatic person, and you know, you feel great being around him. They've got an aura about him.
Yeah, they really do. Mike Summerby is just one of the nicest men, and whenever you see him, he gives you a big hug, and he's so charismatic. I wish that I'd been able to see them play, because when we talk about them, for me, sometimes it's clips, but obviously there's not that many.
No.
We're looking at photos, we're hearing stories from City fans that were there, we're reading books. I wish we could have seen them, because these three men, just unbelievably talented.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, Trevor mentioned that, you know, the word legend sometimes gets banded about, for me, a little bit too easily. And I think if you're calling somebody a legend, then there has to be a reason for that. And absolutely, with these three, you'd have to sort of say that, you know, legend certainly applies to Colin Bell. I mean, remember even just growing up, and Franny Lee and Mike, you know, didn't have anything to do with Manchester City as a kid, but because my father was obviously massive into football, he would mention players, and these kind of players got brought up, and obviously you do see little clips of them, and you know what fantastic players they were. And it's funny you should say about Mike Summerby, because when I first signed, he was one of the first people as well who came up to me and welcomed me to the club.
Was he selling you shirts? He was selling me these shirts that he was making at the time.
No, he didn't try to sell me shirts, to be quite honest. But he was absolutely brilliant. I mean, I'm lucky enough with one of the jobs that I do for the Premier League. You get into sort of access areas where you wouldn't normally get into. And of course, with him being with the Man City kind of team and stuff, I'll see him now and again. And it's always lovely to catch up with him. And as you said, he's just an absolutely fantastic person.
And when you talk about Colin Bell, and we see Colin Bell around the place, and he's the most down-to-earth man that you've ever met, and you wouldn't think he'd done anything in his life. And just him being around him to think what he's actually achieved in the game, and then to be so down-to-earth when you're in his company, it's just unbelievable. A great advert to young players, you know, to keep your self-control and look after yourself and don't be big-headed. He's a great guy.
You say it about control. Am I right in thinking? Frankly, he had a massive fight on the pitch once, and they just had absolutely, you know, they were properly at it, and then the camera went off, and then they were at it again. But I mean, just stuff like that. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant to watch back.
Yeah, and this Newcastle game, these pictures, look, they're just phenomenal. Look at Colin Bell. And what I love so much about this club as well is that we remember where we came from. We very much know who the people were that got us here. And of course, the home shirt for this year is in honour of Colin Bell as well. It has the king stitched into it, and it is in honour of these incredible seasons gone by. But I think to know who you are and to look forward, you have to remember your past, don't you? You have to know your legends. You have to respect the people that got you here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think me personally, if I ever went to the club, and obviously Man City was a big move for me, I made sure that I found out what had happened in the past, and then, you know, kind of move on to what can we do in the future. You know, some of the lads that, even if I think Dunny was here, but Dunny would tell you that I tried to impress on the lads the fact that all the ex-players, because I think a lot of players just thought Man City had come from being you know, a team that was really struggling, obviously the Paul Dickoff goal and stuff like that, which then obviously the team just moved on. But me getting into some of the players, especially the foreign lads, about, no, this club is an amazing club. Look at the players that's actually played. I mean, I love Main Road. I absolutely loved it. I mean, it was an old school ground, even coming here as a Newcastle player, or you know, I just loved coming to Main Road because it was the pitch, the stand, just the surroundings. I mean, obviously now you've got the Etihad, which is amazing. But as I said, when you're coming on to the Main Road pitch, for me, I would just think, wow, such and such played on here, this one played on here, and you know, to name those three as well as other players that were absolutely fantastic for Man City. Actually, I'm playing on the same pitch as these people.
And you know, I've seen a tribute for Aguero, rightly so, Vincent Kompany, David Silva. I think it's brilliant for the owners of the football club to think, you know what, we've given these boys the tribute over the last decade or so. Now we need to look back in our history and look at the people that achieved things for this football club, which give us our heritage, and make sure we put a tribute for them. And putting the statues up for these three boys, incredible gesture.
Oh, I fully agree. I cannot wait to see the statue of the three of them as well. That'll be coming to the Etihad very soon. Absolute, genuine Manchester City legends. So their statues, as Trevor said, will be going alongside Vincent Kompany, Sergio Aguero and David Silva. And David Silva has had an effect on so many of us throughout the years. And he also had an effect on a certain new Manchester City player. Because, of course, this week we announced the signing of Sergio Gomez, who will be taking the number 21 shirt. Now, if you haven't seen it yet, you need to just get onto social media. I'm sure you've seen it already. The incredible pictures of Sergio Gomez 10 years ago in his Manchester City shirt. So an 11-year-old Sergio Gomez, I think, in his 21 David Silva shirt. I absolutely love it. When we signed him and I heard that he was a Manchester City fan, I was like, oh. And then when he had it to back up the pictures of him as a child, because of course he watched David Silva and how incredible he was. So we've signed a left back, Trevor. How happy are you with the signing?
I'm really pleased. I mean, he's had a fantastic season last season, Player of the Year at Anderlecht. I think he scored 7 and assisted 11 goals
from left back.
So you know, these left backs now, they put us wingers to shame back in the day. But he seems to have a lot. He's very young. I was surprised that we were keeping him, because initially I think we were going to buy him and put him out on loan to get a little bit more experience. He's obviously impressed. Maybe the window is getting a bit tight, and we don't feel we'll get another left back in. So Pep decided to keep him with the squad, and hopefully he can get a bit of action this season, and you know, cut his teeth, see how he can cope with the Premier League and all that asks of any athlete and any player. But he's around top players, top professionals. You know, you just look at that starting lineup, the experience we've got in there. They'll make sure that his standards are right, that he's training correctly, as will the coaching staff. And I'm sure in time he'll earn his opportunity to play a game for the club. And I wish him well. And you know, great that he's a City fan. David Silva, I think David Silva fans are worldwide, from what he achieved at the football club. But yeah, it's great that he's got an affinity to the club.
So Sergio Gomez is on the bench today, and there you go. There's his picture. He just dropped it there. I love that. 10, 11-year-old Sergio Gomez in his City shirt. I just think it's absolutely phenomenal. So him in terms of a player, Steve, he started out life at the Barcelona Academy. Great. Perfect. That really fits, obviously, our Pep. In fact, he joined the Barcelona Academy when Pep was manager, which is just a lovely Manchester City link there now as well. He started life as an attacker, then he moved back into a midfielder, and then last year at Anderlecht, Vincent Kompany turned him into a left-back. So it sounds like he's the absolute kind of player that we like, that can play in so many different positions.
Yeah, I think as a player, I think a lot of managers do try and actually play players in different positions, so you've got an understanding of what happens if you are playing in midfield, but you know for a fact your fullback's got the ball, but you know how the fullback feels because you've been in that position. And I think managers like to try certain players in all these various positions. Obviously, he has played in various positions. I mean, myself personally, I didn't start off as a defender. I was a midfield player. That got moved up front when I was never a forward, and then from the forward I went all the way to the back again. So, but because I'd played in...
Was that a reflection of your finishing?
Yeah, I was prolifically bad. I'm not just prolific, just prolifically bad. But there's a difference because obviously, like scoring goals in the youth team and the reserves is different to scoring goals in the first team. And actually, in Newcastle at that particular time, we weren't very good. But as I said, at least though, when I did go to the back, because I played in midfield, because I played up front in various positions around, never full back, I had a good idea of tactically what these players were going through and how to play the ball to them in that given area. So for him, I think it's obviously helped him massively. I think, with the fact that, as Trevor said, the possibility of him going out on loan, I think he'll learn, whilst it would have been good for him to get game time, I think he'll learn vast amount with these kind of players. Look what happened to Phil Foden, he didn't go out on loan, Pep kept him, wanted him to be around the players all the time, and look how well he's come on. So, plus the story with the lad, with David Silva as well, I mean, you couldn't make it up really, it's absolutely fantastic. So I think the lad obviously looks as though he's got a very, very bright future, and if you've got players like that around you and a manager and staff like that with you every day, then he's going to have a really positive, hopefully superb future.
Yeah, cannot wait to see how he develops working under Pep Guardiola. And here is what Pep had to say about him earlier in the week.
He was number 10, like a little bit Zinchenko Alex, and now he adapted in that position. And when that's happened, Cruyff told me all the time, when a winger can play with a left back, they will be the best left back. And when a holding midfielder can play as a central defender, that would be the best central defender. So I believe when the players can go, it's difficult for the players from behind, start from behind, play forward. It's more difficult than to play the forward and back.
I just love this entire story. I just find it so kind of fascinating. And in the interview, he was mentioning Johan Cruyff, obviously, who had a big influence on him, talking about the idea that if you could... Well, tell us, Trevor, explain it to us.
Well, basically, I think it was a conversation between himself and Johan Cruyff and Bobby Robson, and they were talking about a number 10 and being able to change them to a fullback. And if you can get the fullback to buy into it, he'll be the best fullback. And pretty much that's what he's saying. And this is where you look at the player who's come in. He was playing as a 10 at the Barcelona Academy, La Masia. Then he went to become a defender, and then he was ended up as a left back, and it almost fits the mould perfectly. And as Steve just said, you train day in and day out. I think our understanding now of how players can get experience without going out on loan has changed because of Phil Foden. So why would you want to go to not being disrespectful, but a second-rate training facility, training with players that are not as talented as the ones that you've actually got at your own club? Why would you because you only play 1 or 2 games a week, you train every day. That's where your learning is. That's where most of your learning takes place. So I fully understand the reasons behind him staying, and like you say, you've got 5, 6, 7, 11 captains there. So if you're training with them, plus the expansive squad that they've got every day, you're going to come on leaps and bounds. You're going to have a great chance of being successful.
I think you could go to a team, and that team, the squad, they might have 1 or 2 where the players might just have bad habits. At Man City, there's nobody that's got bad habits because the manager and the staff and these players won't allow anybody to have bad habits. So he's learning every single day off the best of the best, and that's in every department.
And as we mentioned, he chose his number, we believe, based on David, because he's David Silva. Both your numbers, do you have any stories? How did you choose your numbers? Were they relevant for anything?
Well, I was always number 6. I mean, when I was midfield player, I was number 8. But when I went to the back, I was number 6. When I came here, I wanted the number 6. Joe Roy was the manager initially, and he said Kevin Horlock could have it. And I said, well, look, if Kev's got it, I'm not going to be Mr. Big Time and demand it. I just went, right, fine. So I picked 24, so 2 and 4. So 2 and 4 is 6. So that's why I had 24 here.
Does Kev know?
I think he did. I think he does, yeah. I'm sure we had and he said, oh, you could have took it. I said, because I know it happened once at Newcastle, because obviously we'd signed Alan Shearer and Les Ferdinand was number 9. And he gave up the number 9 because Alan wanted the number 9. So Les Ferdinand took number 10, which was Lee Clark's number. And Lee Clark was not happy because he'd had that number since he was this big. So I knew the feeling it would have been for somebody just to come in and take your number off you.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't do it.
Very similar. I came obviously from West Ham. I was number 8, but Kevin Keegan brought me here as a 7. He wanted to put me in the 7. Darren Huckabee had that number, and I was similar to Steve. I weren't going to come in and start ruffling feathers. I just wanted to come in, join the group of players, and be valued. And I don't think that's the way to go about it. So I was 8 at Manchester City, so I took the 28. I was 8 at West Ham, so I took 28 at Man City.
So keeping the connections,
yes,
but not ruffling feathers.
No.
That sounds like a good way to go, gents. Now, thank you for sending in your WhatsApp questions. Do keep them coming. I'm going to try and rattle through a few of them right now with our guests. So Kanyar says, do you think that switching Diaz for Stones was a good decision?
I think Stones is a very good player. I like Diaz. I think you would say Diaz is more aggressive than Stones. But I think both top defenders. I haven't got a problem. I think you'd mentioned it before. You've got 3 really, really good centre-halves. Obviously, Laporte's missing, but any one of them you'd be more than happy with.
Trev, we've got a question from MB who says, do you think Pep is satisfied with his current squad, or do you think he's looking to add any additional backup?
Possibly. I think he possibly will want to add one more player. I'm not sure what position. But you look throughout the squad and there is kind of options in all positions, but again, I just look at the number and the lack of depth, as in numbers. 19 senior pros. We've got an amazing academy, so there might be a few unearthed players there that he might want to bring into the squad and integrate. But I think if there is good business to be done, and I think we're in the plus when it comes to ins and outs financially this season. So we have got a little bit of surplus money there. So if somebody does come available, I still think Pep will want to get somebody else in.
Now, William sent a question. He's, well done, William. I like it when we test them. He's going to test your tactical nouts now, guys. Do you think Kyle will stay a bit deeper today and not invert as much, since Newcastle have 3 attackers compared to West Ham and Bournemouth's 2 attackers? Do you think it'll be a 3-2-5 instead of a 2-3-5?
Well, obviously you've got Saint-Maximin, who's quick, and you've got Almiron, who's quick. I still haven't seen anybody quicker than Kyle Walker. Even kind of the age that he is. I still think he'll bomb on, but he'll obviously be cautious of what they bring. I think when we were talking about Newcastle earlier, yes, you've got some Maximin and Almiron who were quick. I think, unfortunately, for them too, at times the final ball is probably not the best, so they can get let off the hook a little bit. But I think this is Kyle Walker. He knows what he's doing. He's a very, very good defender. Obviously, if he has a conversation with whether it's Daniel Aki or whether it's Stones that's at the side of him, like, listen, I'm bombing forward. They know straight away just to tuck across, so they've got that cover. So I don't think there's a major problem there with him bombing forward or just staying back, because his game is going forward.
I slightly disagree.
OK, go.
I think we'll play with 3. Almost a 3. I think Kyle Walker will be that right centre-half. I think Stones in the middle. I think on the left we'll be comfortable letting Cancelo go forward, because I think Nathan Ake's got a lot more pace. He's played at left-back himself. So I think that will be the format, because I think St. Maximus is very dangerous. He's very quick. And I think if I was John Stones, I'd be saying, hey, you, stay in here, I don't want you going forward. So I think they are going to shuffle that way. Cancelo loves getting forward. I think defensively wise, I think Kyle Walker is much more comfortable there, and he's got the speed to match.
Are you going for a 3 or a 4 then?
I think they'll start as a 4. From the kick-off, it'll look like a 4.
How are you disagreeing if it's a 4? But I've said it's a 4.
Yeah, it is a 4, but I think once the kick-off happens, I think Cancelo will just stay forward. I don't think they'll concern themselves with Almiron as much.
Well,
as
if you're the
with St.
manager, if
Maximin.
you're Eddie Howe and you've got Kyle Walker sitting and Cancelo goes, then I'm telling St. Maximin come across it because he's bombing on.
And then they can just shuffle that across. So
Well, that's what I said, but they shuffle across.
Yeah. So we do.
We're not
so we
sure
do
if they
agree,
disagree
don't we?
or if they agree. We'll pay attention in the first half, though, William. Thank you. And we'll let you know at half-time what we think happened. Last question for now, but please do keep them coming in. David says, if you could have played with one player from the past or the present, who would it be?
Oof. David Silva.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say Silva, and straight away I've looked up there and I've seen KDB. So I've seen Silva and KDB. I know it's not the other Silva, but yeah, wow, what players.
I guess another player that we all would have loved to have played with, or I'm sure you would like to play with him right now.
Ayo Berkovic, Bernabei are very similar players. If you make a run and you time it well, you won't have to break your stride. And I think David Silva's straight out of that cloth, you know. So I would love to have played with David Silva because, one, he came in as a young player, technical player, and the way that he changed his game and became a physical player, an absolute phenomenal athlete. I've just got so much respect for him. So that's definitely the player that I would like to play with.
Another very special player, and he is making his 100th appearance today, his 100th Premier League appearance, and that is Phil Foden. He is in the starting 11 for today to make his 100th Premier League appearance. He's the second youngest player to achieve that milestone at City, behind
Micah Richards.
Micah Richards, that is right, yes. He's also the youngest player to reach 100 top-flight appearances under Pep Guardiola, which is mad when you think about all the players, and I'm going to get you thinking about them now because it's time for one of our games. You know I love our games. So big congratulations to Phil making his 100th Premier League appearance today. So he's done that the quickest under Pep Guardiola. I want you to guess the other 4 that make up the top 5. Everybody at home as well, send in your guesses as well. So Phil Foden's got to 100 top-flight appearances, the quickest under Pep Guardiola, the youngest under Pep Guardiola. Who are the other 4? What do you think, gents? Let's get you thinking.
We had one of these questions last time I was on. Oh, my God, I was absolutely woeful.
You know I like to just stump.
So is this young player coming from 0 to 100
so
or
young
any
age, yeah. In terms of age, who's been the youngest to get to 100 top-flight appearances under Pep?
Wow.
At any club?
Any club under Pep. So
Messi?
you've got Phil. You've got Phil, who's 22 years and 85 days. So where do you think Messi ranks in it?
Yeah, first.
Phil's one. Phil's number one. Phil's number one. Messi is in there. He's at number 4, 24 years and 66 days. So you're looking for 3 others. Who are the 3 others that have been under Pep? Oh, look, we've got a nice fancy graphic as well for you on screen that might help you.
Oh, right.
There you go.
Oh, is that Iniesta?
That's Messi.
Messi?
No, the one next to Phil. Is he not on the list?
He's looking at the outlines.
Yeah.
He's doing all he can. That's fine. Whatever you need.
Piqué was in, no? He was at Man U, wasn't he, initially?
Okay.
That looks like Piqué in the middle, next to...
Okay.
Right.
Right. Any suggestions?
Well, I was going
Do
to say...
we get clues?
No, I'm not feeling very fairly easy today. No.
I don't know. I mean, that looks like Busquets to me.
Are you going for that?
Oh,
Yeah,
good
go on
shout.
then.
Is that the one next to Messi?
Sergio Busquets,
Yeah.
23 years, 183 days when he made his 100. So you've got 2 left. Do you want to think about it for a bit?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have a think about it. See if anyone at home can help you out. Who got to 100 appearances under Pep, the youngest? So we're still missing 2 there. So do help them at home. The fact that Phil Foden has done it at the youngest, when you're looking at, first of all, the 2 names that are there. Any opportunities to talk about Phil Foden for me, Steve? The man's just phenomenal, isn't he?
He is. I mean, there was a lot of people at times early on were sort of saying he's got to be given him more time. He's not getting enough time. But obviously, Pep's he's so experienced. He knows exactly how to handle players, and basically it just goes to show how unbelievably correct he was, because the lad's absolutely flourishing. He's probably one of the first names on the team sheet for the England team now. So to get to that 100 mark at his age, with the quality of players which is in that squad. I know Trev mentioned, listen, it's not the biggest squad, i.e. 19 senior players, but for him to play that amount of games with them, that amount of quality players that he's had to contend with, is even more impressive.
That was his first goal, by the way, that we just saw.
Yeah.
The first goal that he scored. And how easy did he make that look? Like, if we didn't know, we should have known after we'd seen that.
Absolutely. And I think soon after that, Pep came out and said he has got an eye for goal. You know, he's seen that in training. He's been able to transfer that into match days. And again, it's been in the right areas. It is almost like a science. If you're putting the ball into certain areas and you're arriving into them areas as the ball arrives, you're going to have opportunity to score goals. And he seems to understand that science of football. And, you know, for such a young player, it's incredible the amount of strides that he's made.
Again, another hugely versatile player.
Yeah.
We've heard Pep saying he can play in 5 different positions. We've seen him play in 5 different positions. And
but all very well, which is
yes,
annoying.
all very well. And that's the point. Does he have a best position, or is he just the best way where he is versatile?
I think he's that good, he can play anywhere. I think we mentioned the game. I can remember the game. I can't remember who it was, but he was just sitting in the middle of the park and he was just spraying balls left, right and centre. It was ridiculous.
But Pep's like that, isn't he? You know, he's mentioned it before. Sometimes I think there's been a little bit of, you know, critique in there, but he said, I don't want a player who plays right wing, or I don't want a player who plays centre forward. I want a footballer who can play in any position. And that's his philosophy. He wants players to be able to, you know, integrate with each other. He wants to be able to rotate with each other. And we used to say it back in our day, if someone goes forward and they're caught out of position, fill in for him. You know, fill in for him. So it was a little bit more simplistic back in our day, but you can see it now. There's a real strategy now with the players that he's recruited to make sure that they are players that can play in different positions.
This is a goal that actually Phil Foden scored against Newcastle, which we're all going to be hoping he very much does again today, because he is in the starting 11 today, making his 100th Premier League appearance at the age of 22 years and 85 days. Oh, we love Phil Foden. Another Manchester City fan in our team. I cannot wait till him, Haaland, Sergio Gomez rolling the team together. And we've got 3 City fans all playing. Now, we have 2 other City fans that you do like to see around as well. And last week, we got RLs and FG working hard. We took them out the studio for once and we said, we are giving you a tough job and we want to see how you get on. So they spent their match day being an official club photographer. I saw the 2 of them walking around at the Bournemouth game, by the way, with the cameras around their necks. They looked so excited. They were so happy. It was hilarious. The full video will be across our social media channels in the next week, but here is a little bit of a sneak preview.
So far, I have had, I'd probably say about 0 images usable.
Hello and welcome to Matchday here at the Etihad Stadium. I'm Els. FG is here with me.
Hello, everyone.
And we are training to become pro photographers.
Yeah, I think we already are pro photographers. We just spoke to Tom, the head photographer.
We've had our tutorial.
And we've had our tutorial and we've taken some practice images. And we're going to go around the stadium and the match day, Haaland's debut, taking photos. We'll take some of the cameraman now. Yeah,
I mean, that was actually okay, to be fair.
The lighting's all wrong.
Not going to lie, I need a viral photo. That's what I need.
Okay,
I need the Vincent Company in the air, like jumping.
I feel like just following Haaland's a good plan.
So we're here on the blue carpet with Tom. Hey. Just did the players walking out of the team bus. I think I did all right.
Did very, very, very well, I have to say. Very good.
But the real challenge now is the game, so we're going to head to the dugout.
Yeah, you can do a great job on this, but if you don't do a good job on the game, it doesn't matter.
True. So I am here near the dugout. I've got a new lens and I'm ready to take photos of the players as they're coming out of the tunnel. And my arm's already hurting because this is so heavy, but I'm ready. Okay, match officials. Gundawan. Edison. Foden. Kevin. Haaland. He's on the other side. Oh, it's the Lionesses. Chloe Kelly there. Yes. Pep. Oh, there he is. Shaking hands. I feel like there was a lot going on. There was a lot of people. And I was just not concentrating on what I needed to concentrate on. Right, let's do it.
That's about your distance though, so so stuff when it's like 10 metres further back than that, just like chill.
Gundawan just scored.
Gundawan has just scored. I wonder if Els managed to capture that. What an assist by Haaland as well. But hopefully, Els got a really good innings.
There you go.
Oh, look at that.
There you go. Yeah, look at that.
That one's sick.
Perfect.
I did it.
Yes, Els, that's a decent photo, to be fair. I can't wait to watch that full video across the social channels this week, and we'll see how FG gets on as well. Maybe we won't see them back here. Maybe they'll just leave us and become photographers. So thank you so much for joining us on Matchday Live today. Less than 10 minutes now until kick-off against Newcastle. If you're just joining us, this is your Manchester City starting 11 for today. And in goal, of course, it is Ederson. And then it is Walker, Stones, Ake, Cancelo, Rodri, Gundawan, KDB, Silva, Haaland and Foden, and that is Phil Foden making his 100th Premier League appearance at the tender age of 22. So the game kicking off in about 6 minutes now. Don't forget, the best place to get your commentary for today's game is on the Manchester City app. You've got Alistair Mann and Michael Brown on there. Honestly, the best commentary. You'll enjoy listening to it. You'll be nodding along, agreeing with them. You won't get angry or anything. That is the place to get your commentary. And then from midnight tonight, you can get a full match replay of the game available on City Plus. So, gents, I'd love your final thoughts. We're seeing St James's Park there, black and white everywhere. It's looking full. Steve, what sort of game are you expecting?
I think just with the kind of feel-good factor at Newcastle, I think they'll try and go for it. They'll try and get the fans behind them. I think for me, Man City just have to like hold tight, just try and settle it down for the first 10-15 minutes, and then I can see their quality coming through. Score-wise, do you want a prediction for score-wise?
Go on then, go on.
You've gone early.
I have gone early, haven't I?
Oh, Miggy, what? Almiron?
Yeah.
War Miggy, is that Geordie for our Almiron?
Yeah.
War.
So we'd say our Almiron.
Well,
yeah.
It's our, so it's war.
Love it,
So
love it.
if the ball goes out, they shout, war ball! And that means our ball.
I love it. Right, score prediction.
Right, score prediction. I am going to go 3-1.
To City?
Yes.
OK. Trev, what sort of game are you expecting?
I'm expecting Manchester City to take control of the ball. I think we've seen last week with Brighton, they had the majority of play and created quite a lot of opportunities. I'm going to go 2-0. I think we're quite keen on keeping our clean sheet. We've not conceded a goal in the Premier League this year, and I think we just have enough to keep them out this. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for Manchester City.
So I said before the game, before you guys were in, I thought it was going to be 3-1 or 2-0. So, so I'm agreeing with both of you. So we'll be back here at half-time, where we'll be analysing everything that happens in that first 45 minutes. We'll be giving you the rest of the names in our game of who's made 100 appearances under Pep. The guys are still talking there. And also we'll be talking FPL, because we're all in a league together, and I'm pretty smug. So we'll be giving you a bit of an FPL update as well. So do join us at half-time. The players are coming out now, so don't forget, get your commentary on the Manchester City app with Alistair Mann and Michael Brown, and a full match replay from midnight on City Plus. So big thank you to Trevor, a big thank you to Steve for joining us. Hopefully today is going to be another iconic day for Manchester City at St James's Park, but we'll find out. Ali, over to you.
Thank you, Natalie. So City arrive at St James's Park, brimming with confidence after a wonderful start to the new campaign. 2 wins, 6 scored, none conceded. Well, that speaks for itself. But perhaps against an emerging Newcastle, they face a